Hey guys, so here we go. I'm gonna do a little video on how I stretch my screens to screen print skateboards. You're gonna need a couple of items today. One screen, okay, some ribbon, some mesh. I use 280 mesh screen, okay, wood glue, staples, stapler. This it's like a screen stretcher puller, okay, and just a simple knife to trim your edges, okay. So these screens are really simple to build. You can use 1x1s, 2x2s, but what I do is I rip 2x4s with my table saw. I'll cut the 2x4 in half, okay, and then what I'll do is I'll run along the edge to square the piece up. A lot of times I've tried to use 1x1s or 2x2s and they're really warped, so it's kind of hard to find a really straight piece of wood in that size. So like I said, I use 2x4s. If you have a table saw, it makes life a lot easier. If you're using a table saw, please read up on how to use one, because they're dangerous. But like I said, that's for me. That's my route. I use 2x4s, and I rip them and then cut the edge off. So my screens measure 30 inches by 23. Okay, it's just a simple measurement that helps fit on my jig a little better. But you may have to experiment with screen sizes to kind of fit your own jig or your own screen printing setup. The less tension you have in your screen, the more the screen is going to be able to contour to your concave. Does that make sense? Okay, that's why it's really important. If you want to screen print skateboards, you got to build your own screens. It doesn't matter what size aluminum screen you buy from any screen printing supply house. It's not going to work. You're going to have blowouts. You're going to have misprints just because the screen mesh is too tight. Okay. So remember, guys, with your screens, there's no right or wrong size. Okay. I use 30 by 23 because it works better on my screen printing press. You may want to go longer, you may want to go wider, you may want to shorten things up. But if I'm printing on the bottom, this is my size, okay? So all you're doing is you're either going to take your 1x1s or your 2x2s, you're going to cut them to length, okay? You're going to put a little bit of wood glue in the joints and 2 screws. A little bit of wood glue in the joint and 2 screws. And I always use my square here to make sure when I'm drilling these pieces together that I stay square on my screen, okay? Alright guys, let's start making these screens. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my fabric, okay, and measure out basically corner to corner, okay? You'll see why we do this at the end. Do all 4 sides. Any little excess like this, guys, you can just trim off. It's not a big deal, okay? All right, so let's take our screen mesh. Number 280 is what I use, okay? People ask why 280. Okay, the higher your mesh count, the less amount of ink is gonna be able to be pushed through, okay? So when you screen print on concave, you have to press so hard that anything under 280 is gonna cause lots of blowouts. Okay, so you wanna make sure you have enough overlap, okay, on each side. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna cut this excess off. Make it a lot easier to work with. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start by making an L, okay? I'm gonna start stapling an L shape. Start on this side here. And my staples are kind of placed randomly, man. If you guys are OCD, you can figure out the exact spacing. But like I said, mine, I just put them anywhere. So now I'm going to go along this L shape right here, okay? I'm going to pull this corner a little tight. Now I'm going to start working my staple. Right, so now let's start stretching the screen, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clamp my screen down. That way it keeps it from getting it at a square, okay? Because sometimes for this screen mesh to really stretch, you have to pull super duper hard. Sometimes when you're stapling stuff like that, it might knock your screen out of square. So I like to kind of clamp one side down. Okay. Take a little grabber here. Is where this comes in handy. Okay. Pull. I'll run down the line and pull. So you don't worry about these wrinkles here. You see how it's wrinkled up? Because when you go to this side and pull, all these wrinkles are going to come out, okay? Now I'm going to rotate this around. Okay, clamp this side down now. Refill my staples. now this is where we get all the wrinkles out, okay? Here, I'll pull super tight. Start on this corner, grab the excess and pull super tight. Work my way down. Okay, so now that I've got this corner done, I'm gonna clamp it down. A little bit more to grab. Okay, so now I got each corner of my screen clamped down. Alright, so we're done stretching, man. Okay, you might have a little bit of, sometimes you might get wrinkles here on the side, but that's okay because your image is not going to be stretched out that far, right? You're printing right here. As long as there's no wrinkles here, you are good to go, okay? So you want to kind of go around and feel. If you feel any type of staples that are sticking up, you know, feel free to cut them off. See, I'm gonna cut off my excess some more. There. The staple came out. Remove any missed staples like the one I just had. Okay. So now we stretch your screens, you trimmed your excess. Now what I like to do is I like to run a pretty decent coat of skateboard glue, aka Type Bond 2, and glue the mesh and the fabric into the wood, okay, into your screen itself. It's gonna add another layer of strength for the screen. Okay. It's as simple as taking my finger and pushing the glue into the screen. Alright guys, there you go. You got your screen printing screen. Now what I want you to do is let your wood glue dry completely, and then we're going to take it out front and I'll show you how to degrease these screens. So after your screen is done, the glue's done drying, you want to degrease your screen, okay? Which basically is just taking a bucket of soapy water, some Dawn dish detergent, and scrubbing your screen and rinsing it off. So now that you're done degreasing your screen, I like to let mine just dry out in the sun, and when it's completely dry, we'll take it inside and coat it.